Well, what I want to get across is if there's no evil involved, Utah's a non-disclosure state, and if I would be absolutely crazy out of my mind to buy a property without a professional, because there's no benchmark set. So there's no benchmark set at the time of purchase. Immediately after we sell, they have there's, to appraisers, that home is blind. So there's no benchmark set. And and I worked on a property out there in Warren, where all the sellers sold without, and they lost about 8% of that.
We start?
Do it.
All right, so Napoleon Hill. First, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself to such continuous action toward this statement, and I here now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into visible reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of being the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of auto-suggestion, any desire that persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through practical means of attaining the object practically. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily demanding myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down the description of my definite achievement in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall develop sufficient confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position will long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I will succeed by attracting myself to the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfish cynicism by developing a love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I will cause others to live in me because I believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant, successful person. Hoorah! All right, 12 steps. This is the 12-step formula of minimum standards which, when followed with exactness in a positive environment, guarantees 24 plus transactions annually and unprecedented personal growth and achievement. 1. I dedicate 1 hour daily towards building and protecting my self-confidence. 2. I practice and internalize my sales skills for a minimum 1 hour each day. 3. I contact my sphere of influence by mail, by phone, and or in person, and by email quarterly. 4. I make 150 plus contacts per week, 30 plus per day, by phone or in person. 5. I follow the law of qualified leads daily. 6. I set 5 plus 2 appointments a week with buyers and sellers. 7. I completely pre-qualify 100% of my appointments. 8. I have an appointment to attend a listing taking consistent and written. 9. I call on my sellers weekly, reduce all listings every 3 weeks, a minimum of 5%. 10. I sell 75% or more on listing inventory. 11. I return every site call and contact every buyer within 2 hours of inquiry. 12. I only work with highly qualified buyers who are pre-qualified by a mortgage lender and have signed a buyer broker agreement. For more commission, less time, and less energy spent. I recognize success comes from decision and no individual outcome. Therefore, I commit to following every step of the 12 steps of success. Tony Robbins. Now I am the voice.
Now I am the voice.
I will lead, not follow.
I will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not destroy.
I will create, not destroy.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for good.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.
Defy the odds.
Defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
All right, opening affirmations. I'm a professional salesperson who gets homes sold. I use information to help my clients achieve their goals. I price my listings right. I focus on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are abundant in the market. My ability to make me succeed. I get stronger with every step. I'm the master of every situation. My confidence changes because I live with integrity. I always have productive thoughts. I take excellent care of my body. I start each day with abundance of energy. I am task-oriented. I set clear priorities daily. I know what I want and I get it. I enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude gives me a limited financial success. I think prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I handle my money wisely and I profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. My daily start each day. I enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my clients succeed. I eat healthful lose. I'm a real estate expert. My SOI expects me to be a real estate expert. I'm a professional. I'm financially independent. Hired commission fees helping others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call it buyers and sell my owners. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy following up with my SOI. People are attracted to my enthusiasm. I use technology to see. I get mentally strong with every call I make. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a powerful agent. I know how to succeed. I keep positive, exciting, fun, productive thoughts around at all times. Yes!
Oh, that was awkward with a handhold there.
There's a hand hug.
With a hand hug.
You're down.
Morning, Rick.
Good. So typically on the day after Summit, we'll take a few minutes to talk about takeaways and things that you had from Summit. So first off question is, who all was there? Oh, good. It feels like this was all that was there too. We were light on numbers, so. But what takeaways? What things did you come away with? Rick?
You know, the big takeaway for me, and we've heard it before, but how this company was really established in the heat of very difficult times, and how they pretty much climbed out of those ashes that were practically burning them down to victory to where we are today, which give me this thought of, again, when our lives are in its most seems destructive state is when we grow the most. I mean, you hear about their to the edge of death even, and disparity, yet they persevered through, and to create such a great place for all of us to really exist is a fascinating proposition.
Yeah. Awesome, thank you. Who else? What other takeaways? Ken?
I really like something John said. He said that the best agents will always have business because they get it from the agents that don't give up. That applies to the best agents will always have work to do because they'll get it from the agents that made their calls late that day or didn't jump on a lead they had. Early bird gets the worm, and best agents always have work to do.
Yeah, awesome. The other thing I would say with that too, along those lines, is the best agents don't give up too soon. Meaning, we spend all this time generating leads and then we don't do the lead follow-up to stay in touch with them. And as a result of that, somebody else ends up with the deal. So, good.
Two things I'd like to add on to his. One was that throughout my life, until recently, I've had cars that I had to have one working and one running. And so basically, because the cars wouldn't run right, I'd learned so much about the cars. So basically, the trouble that you have in life is what teaches you. It's through the adversity of life that you learn something new. But what my big takeaway from yesterday was, I have to be excited in everything I do. I have to practice being excited. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, what else am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
That's my big takeaway.
Practice being excited. Good. Love it. Good. Who else? What other takeaways? Okay, Andy?
I think for me, the biggest one is what you want your kids to know about you, is what your legacy is going to be. And I've found in my life that if you don't have kids, you'll do anything for your kids at some point. My kids have pushed me without them knowing as little babies to be a better person. Yeah. And so that was a big thing for me out of yesterday, was what do I want my kids to remember and know about me?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually like that one too. And someday I'll tell you guys more about it. My dad was killed when I was 7. And but it's interesting that actually even at one point, about a year or so ago, I was sitting in with Dave Baird as he was doing a recruit, and it was, Rick was there too, but so the three of us were sitting there talking to this recruit because she had brought her dad, who was a commercial agent that has been in the business, built tons of commercial buildings and things, and sitting there talking to him, I kind of, at one point, now remember this is 40 years later from when my dad was killed, we're sitting there talking, and I said to the guy, did you happen to live in Magna? Based on his last name, and he said, yeah, I did. And I said, well, did you know Doug Orchard? And not this one, but my dad, Doug, not that one. So that's my son, Doug. I had a dad, Doug, too. But anyway, I said, did you happen to know my dad? And he said, your dad was Doug Orchard? And I said, yeah. And he turned to his granddaughter and said, this is the company you are going to, because if his dad was Doug, you're working for him. And so, like you say, what legacy, I mean, to me, that's kind of been one of the things for me that I've said is like, I want to have 40 years later people even, have an inkling of who I was, let alone, to have that kind of an impact still, that people would do that. So awesome, thanks. Greg, you had a hand.
Oh,
you know, Rick's comment about how this, I wasn't there, but I've heard before how the company was created, and it was such a fight and a struggle. And this may sound really corny, but I've always equated how this company was started and what it is now with the Revolutionary War and how this country was created. I mean, if the Patriots had done what they did, this land would just be dominated by England and France and just another place. There would be no America for the whole world to want to come to in existence.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be there. It'd just be a whole different world. And I think that, I really feel that with Everest, it really changed the real estate world in this state, or maybe even country.
Yeah, we're working on the country.
Yeah.
Good, Jason.
I like what John was talking about, awkward moments and how they come frequently. And I thought it was interesting because we always try to avoid the awkward moments, but it's in and through the awkward moments that we see the biggest growth. And when we try to avoid those moments, we're really just saying that we're satisfied with what we have. We're satisfied, we don't want to grow. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. Doug, you put your hand.
Yeah, I liked when John said, I'm satisfied is just a fancy way of saying I quit. It just struck me like, holy cow, that's so true. It's an eye-opening experience, because I mean, we can always achieve more than what we're capable, more than what we're doing right now. But if we're satisfied, we're never going to know what we can become.
Yeah. Which that was funny actually though, because if you had listened to the daily message yesterday morning, George talked all about that. And so then when John said, I don't know where I got this from, it was like George talked about it all in the morning. Yeah. So good, yeah, awesome. Who else? Jen.
So I was thinking do the math and see the path. That kind of struck me because, not just because sitting down and doing the math part, but like at a broader level of just sit down and look at what the little steps, to just take one step at a time and make it'll unfold.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool story that she had talked with George about wanting to live on the beach and then ended up being there, so that's awesome. Eric.
It just really hit me when he said that nothing, well, he applied it to business and the dreams that we have, but basically everything in life has a cost, and to reach it, you have to pay for that. So whatever your dreams are, you know, they're not just going to come. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
It'll never come easy.
Sleep. Yep, you're going to have to pay the price, right? Awesome, thanks, Eric. Steve?
I couldn't make the meeting yesterday, but reminds me what Jason was saying about just, kind of the struggling. I was doing prospecting the other day, talked to this guy, and I must have not said what he wanted to hear. He basically just hung up on me. So, which, that happens all the time. But it kind of bothered me the rest of the day and through the evening. So the next morning I thought, I'm just going to call this guy back. And, and I knew he'd probably hang up on me again, but I was just like, dang nabbit, I'm not going to let that get to me. So I called him back and I said, hey, this is Steve from Central 21. I think I got off on the wrong foot with you yesterday. And I just went on. He's like, look, Steve, I'm just not interested in real estate stuff right now. And then he didn't hang up on me. But anyway, nothing happened from it, but I just felt really good after that. Yeah. And it allowed me to just continue making calls, and if it doesn't quite go right or somebody hangs up on you, it's like, no, it's not a big deal. I kind of grew from that. And but it was really hard for me the next day to say, I'm going to call this guy up. I called him up and it's ringing. I'm like, hope he doesn't.
Hope I get most of it.
And he answered. But that little seed got planted and I grew from that. So
cool. There's an app that's called Sly Dial. If you really don't want them to pick up, you can use Sly Dial. It puts you straight to their voicemail. I'm teasing. Well, yeah, there really is an app, but I'm saying for what you were talking about.
I think you're talking to, I'm sorry, I came in late.
No, you're good.
You're talking about Summit?
Takeaways from Summit, yep.
So my takeaway, and I have to read my notes,
But when John said, just because I am capable doesn't mean it'll be easy or it'll be comfortable. I think over the years, and it's like, okay, I'm done with this real estate thing. I am so uncomfortable, and I said to Stephanie Barnes, when does it ever get easier? When do I actually feel okay? Because it's always a struggle, and it's like we would chat and say, yeah, what else can we do? And I'm thinking, well, there's nothing else I can do that I could make this kind of money and help this many people. But I'm not sure, when I get comfortable, I start to go, okay, wait, I'm not growing. And it is uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable business. So you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, as strange as that sounds, and then it's kind of like that vicious cycle. Okay, wait, I'm uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Something's wrong. And it's a very strange business, but I loved that. And then with George, it's always about who do I have to be? Who do I have to become? And that's always in the back of my mind, and actually I have it in my office in a big note up there on the wall. Because you always have to think, if I'm becoming comfortable, then maybe I'm not being what I need to be for myself and others. So it's just, it was a good reminder. So I loved it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Tony?
That reminds me too of what I've heard about George, and then now I've heard him say it actually himself, is that if you come to him and you have a problem or you're struggling, he'll actually just say, well, what do you want? Not as in what are you calling me for, but what do you really want? It's such a clarifying moment. It's so powerful to just ask somebody what they want if they're talking about, or I'm feeling like, what am I doing here? What's going on here?
Yeah, if we can be clear on that. Yeah, if we're clear on what we want, then it'll help us. Okay, good. Brett?
I'd like to comment on the idea of being uncomfortable. Back when I was in high school, or when I first went into high school, I went into what we call the symphonic band. Very few freshmen made it. And I went in there, I had to practice a lot. It was challenging, it was difficult. And by the time I hit my senior year, I went up to my teacher, my conductor, and I said, hey, why don't we play the hard music like we used to do? How come it's so easy now? And he didn't answer my question, but he did answer it in front of the entire band. He said, you know, about every 4 years, we get somebody to ask this question. And he says, it's not that the music is any easier, it's our ability to grow has become, we've become better. So in order to continue growing, you have to seek that uncomfortableness. You have to seek the greater challenge every time you learn and become comfortable at a certain level. And so, you know, I kind of thought, yeah, I guess that does make sense. And when we talk about being uncomfortable and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, you have to learn that you get to a certain level. In order to get to the next level, you have to push yourself into an uncomfortable zone.
Yeah, which is a little bit ironic, or a little bit of a, I guess the term that I keep thinking of, which may not make sense as I say it, but is a Mobius strip. You know, you think about a Mobius strip. A Mobius strip really is like the only one-sided thing in the universe. Meaning, like, if I created a Mobius strip, which I probably should, because it's probably not making sense to you guys, but if you put a pen on there, you could draw, and it just stays on the one side the whole way through. But it's this closed loop that we go through, in terms of, like, as soon as we're comfortable, we need to get ourselves uncomfortable to grow, but we don't want to get uncomfortable because it's uncomfortable, but that's what it takes for the growth. So
it's sort of like the other end of you become satisfied with the level you've achieved, then you're no longer going to be achieving.
Yeah, well, then that goes to what Douglas said, which is John's
quit.
comment of you've quit. Then you know.
You quit achieving.
Yeah. Good. Who else? Linz?
I think the biggest thing for me, and it's what George talked about today in the morning message, is life becomes a lot easier if you chase the concept of leadership, communication, and I put integrity. We build the life we want instead of chasing the principle of money. And I think, you know, what's this gonna sound? On Sunday afternoon, I was at my parents' house and we had a barbecue. And, you know, I was bribing my nephew. And he was like, I don't need your money, I just got paid. I was like, well, you can never have enough money. And he goes, Aunt Lindsay, money's not everything. I said, money is everything. And, you know, we got in that conversation about things, and And then it just goes along with what George was saying, is the legacy that we create. You know, I was, in the example that we get at set, I'm gonna get emotional. I've helped raise my nephew since he was a little baby, basically, and the example that he sets and how proud I am of him, but also knowing that we have the responsibility to set the examples as well. And so yesterday when he was talking about that, I was thinking back to my conversation is, what was I teaching my nephew? Because the way I said it is, I was like, no, money's everything. And I said, you know, and he was just like, no, it's not. What about family? Da, 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 da. And I said, look, I said, God gave me the gift of life. What am I giving God? It's not just my responsibility to be on earth and to take care of my family. It's my responsibility to give back and do more as well, right? And I can't do that without money. And, you know, then you could see it start resonating in his head going, oh man, okay. Like, you know, yes, family's everything, but there's more to life than that too, you know, and what can we do for other people? And so it was just fun to see that. But yesterday I was just like, okay, maybe I need to be better about the example of how I say it. But
helping them understand, yeah. You know, it's funny though, actually, as I was pulling in the parking lot, I was listening to Jim Rohn talking about if you made $10 million and he said, what if you made $10 million in a year and your family only needed $3 million to actually live on for the year? You know, believe it or not, that, you know, some people do that. And he said, what if you only needed $3 million to live on? What could you do? So along the lines of what you're saying, whose lives could you bless? What things could you do with that other $7 million to help enrich and enhance other people's way of living and things? So.
And then I think the key to, or the quote I love that John Flyton said, for those of you who didn't know him, he was a great man, is just love more and learn more. I think, you know, it's key to success and key to life. We're not learning, because Tony would say we're dying inside, right? And so our ability to continue to grow and do more and to be more so that we can be who we need to be for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Anyone else? Brett?
Was not the big takeaway. Being excited was my big takeaway. But another thing that I've been kind of going over in my mind is this leadership thing. We don't chase money, we chase leadership. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, that's kind of a hard concept to wrap around. But, you know, like with a buyer, I've come to the realization we have to lead them through the process of understanding what they need, correct, what they want. And so, yes, I think leadership is much more important. And but it's still kind of vague for me. But I think, wow, that makes some sense.
Yeah. Well, get some of John Maxwell's books and he'll help you.
Yeah, I have two, but I don't have his leadership. I have his development one. I got to go with that.
Yeah, good. Well, excellent. So yeah, my two takeaways. The two things for me that were the biggest is one was from John that talks about principles. And we can't fight against principles. And then, you know, he jumped up in the air talking about we can resist temporarily a principle, but in the end, the principles are what control things. And really, if you stop and think about it, that is really, life is about the management of principles. So if you stop and think about an airplane flying, is it defying gravity when it flies? I mean, in some sense, you would maybe say yes, but really it's not. What happened is the Wright brothers just had figured out what is the principle that would govern being able to have an airplane fly. They figured out something that's called the Bernoulli effect. The Bernoulli effect, in fact, we got a second. I'll do it for you real quick. You should have Rick draw. I know. Actually, mine might not be much better than Rick.
I could draw this, by the way.
Okay, so that's pretty bad. But that's the wing of an airplane, okay? So you're looking at the tip of the wing.
I thought it was the
I think you're going to know that.
I'll try it again. I'll see if I can make it a little better.
Rick, go take over.
How's that?
Wow.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Right.
So think of it as you're looking at the tip of the wing of an airplane, okay? So the airplane's like this, going to take off. You guys are seeing this in, okay? So now, how many of you understand how an airplane flies, the Bernoulli effect? Okay, so you guys don't participate in this then, okay? So if you had to guess, where is the lift generated? Those who didn't raise their hand that understand the Bernoulli effect, where is the lift on the wing generated? Is it 1, 2, or 3?
So if you think it's 1, raise your hand. If you hadn't already raised your hand, those who did, don't raise your hand. But if you think it's at 1, raise your hand. Okay, if you think it's at 2. Okay, if you think it's at 3. Okay, the lift on an airplane, those who have seen it before, where is it generated?
1.
Okay, so why?
Suction. More surface.
Yeah, so essentially what's happening is the airplane is being sucked up into the air is what's happening. So when we talk about is it defying gravity, it's really not defying gravity. It's actually using a principle that's out there that will help to resist, I guess maybe to use John's word, of gravity for a short time. Because once it gets up, it's coming down at some point, right? Either it's going to run out of gas or it's going to land. But what happens is the airplane actually gets sucked up into the air. It becomes kind of a vacuum that lifts it up into the air. So when we talk about principles, that's really, life is nothing but management of the principles. And as we understand the principle and then apply it in our life, we're going to then see the success that comes from living consistent with that principle as well. So the other thing from this is the Bernoulli effect is really counterintuitive. It's the opposite of what you would think. Most people think that it's generated here, but it's really generated there at 1, which lifts it into the air. So anyway, that's the one thing that I got out of it, was that we can resist a principle for a short time, but we're not going to be able to for a long period of time. Eventually, it's just like this airplane. Eventually, it's coming down. It's not going to stay up there forever. So we got to manage the principles. And if you think about that in terms of real estate, meaning if you don't prospect, how long are you going to be in the business without any? And when I say prospect, that would include SOI, all of those things, right?
Well, and the principle of pushing through the no's. You're going to get no.
Mm-hmm.
To give up on the first is not going to work. You have to push through. And as you do that, it's fascinating because people are responding based on what's going on in their life, not necessarily what you're doing. So pushing through those
Yeah,
second,
so
third
exactly
no's.
what Steve's comment earlier is, the guy may have been just having a bad day.
Correct.
It's possible
That's
that,
what
you
made
know,
me
he
think
just
of it.
lost
Yeah.
his job or whatever, so.
Correct.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's too many times we take that on. They're having a bad day and we say, let me help you out with it and let me take part of your bad day and turn it into my bad day, and we gotta not do that as well, so, good.
Yeah.
Second thing was what George said, which is what Lindsay alluded to, is just communication. The importance of really your number one skill that you need to work on is communication. And the better of a communicator that you become, the more success you will see in the business. And really, actually, even just to build on what Rick said, is, you know, when you walk into a department store and the first thing that the salesperson says to you is, "Can I help you?" how do you respond every time?
Just looking.
Yeah, no, just looking, right?
What you do is you respond as, what are you looking for?
Yeah, that's right. The next question the salesperson should follow up with is, great, well, what are you looking for? And then say, oh, well, we've got some of those over here, let me show you. But unfortunately, typically what happens when you say that?
Let me know if you need anything.
Yeah, if you need anything, I'll just be over here. And then when you need something, they're nowhere to be found, right?
You know what's fascinating? I've heard this 100 times, and I keep going back to my own emotions when I do that. And whether I'm looking for shoes or pants or something, I'm like, why didn't I just say yes? I really needed their help. But my natural response, no, just looking. Then I'm like, God, where are they when I need them? You know, it might be 2 minutes later.
Yep.
But our natural response is just to say, no, just looking.
But it's important to remember that, because the same thing's going to happen to you as you're prospecting.
Yeah.
Their natural response is going to typically be to say no, but we would need to overcome that, as Rick was saying, is push through that and ask more questions to get through it. So, comment, Chris, or just okay? Awesome. Okay. Well, good. Any other thoughts? Timber, you look like you want to say something.
I like your drawing.
Yeah. Is it better than the tire?
Better
or
than the
wheel?
sprocket.
It's spokes.
Spokes, yeah.
Better than the
It's still
spokes?
bike wheel, but.
All right, let's close it up. And then for those that can stick around, we're going to do work on the listing presentation right after. So.
And I know she'll be the death of me. At least
Next
we'll
song.
both be
I know, that's what I'm like, that's not working.
Yeah, that's not doing it for me.
Such a good song. I know. Let me teach you what music is. All right, closing affirmations. I succeed because I have my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people. I know it's important to me. I remember people's names. I have a daily plan I follow. I'm passionate about real estate. I know consistency is my greatest tool. I like asking questions and listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts lead my emotions, action, and results. I focus on my dreams daily. My presentation is powerful, persuasive. I improve my skills daily. I am happy. I love the prospect of leading my business. I see my future is awesome. I love my life. I am grateful and thankful. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I feel outstanding. I use my beliefs constantly daily. I get things done. I provide excellent customer service. I drink water daily. I connect with people. People love me. I love others. I am disciplined, accountable, and in schedule. I prospect daily. I set appointments daily. I'm a master persuader. I achieve my goals. I'm a real estate rock star. I'm passionate about my life. I'm generating with purpose. I'm confident in my sales skills. I know my destiny. I'm healthy and strong. I'm powerful. I'm unstoppable. I keep positive, exciting, fun, and productive thoughts fine at all times. Yes!
Morning. Good.
Morning again. All right, go to page 60.
Not bad.
60?
Page 60.
I'm here for you.
You're the best. All right, page 60 is the 1-minute listing presentation. So knock, knock. Hi, thanks again for having me over. I'm excited about getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Do you mind if I take a quick look at your home? I wrote down 3 very important questions for you. Number 1, do you absolutely have to sell your home? Yes? Fantastic. Number 2, will you price your home to sell, or do you want to keep it on the market for a long period of time? Price to sell? Great. Number 3, do you want me to handle the sale for you? Yes? Excellent. All we need to do now is simply sign the contract so that I can help you get what you want in the time you want. Won't that be great? Yes, it will. Sign the contract. All right, next page. George, at the end of my presentation tonight, one of 3 things will happen. Number 1, you'll have the opportunity to list your home with me, or number 2, you'll decide not to list your home with me, or number 3, I'll decide not to take your listing. Anyone is fine. Let's quickly take a moment to review the questions I asked you over the phone. You said you were moving to LA, right? You said you were moving because of a job transfer. You said you had to be there in 90 days, correct? You'd like to price your home at $300,000, right? And you said you owe $100,000. Is that right? Now, you weren't planning on selling yourself, were you? Terrific. Are you interested in seller financing, or do you want your money out? Wonderful. Now, there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. Number 1, your motivation to sell this home, and number 2, the price we set on your home. I prepared what we call a comparative market analysis. There are 2 parts to this research. Part 1 we call Fantasyland. It's what homeowners list homes for. Part 2 we call Reality. It's what real estate agents list and sell homes for. We're going to have to decide tonight where you're going to spend your time. The purpose of a comparative market analysis is to determine the value of your home in the eyes of a buyer. Do you know how buyers determine value? Buyers determine value by comparison shopping. They look at the price of your home based on its features and benefits and compare it to the features and benefits of similar homes that have sold recently or are currently on the market. Does that make sense? Good. For example, if you were going to purchase a new home and one dealership had a car for $20,000 and another dealership had the same car for $20,000, but it had a CD player and fancy rims, Which car would be more valuable? Why? What if the first dealership put the car with no CD player and rims on sale for $15,000? Which would be a better value then? Why? So, you can see that if you want to increase value, lower the price, or have more features and benefits for the same price. Does that make sense? Good. So, unless you're planning to add more features and benefits to your home, are you? No? Price is the only issue. May I show you what I mean? This home is just like yours. How many bedrooms? How many baths? How many square feet? Do you know this neighborhood? Have you seen this house? Your house is better. This house is a little better than yours. This house is very similar to yours. What price are they asking? Look how long it's been on the market. You need to be in LA in 90 days, right? What price do you feel we should use to create value in the eyes of a buyer and get someone to decide to buy your home versus the competition? Now that you've seen these prices, I'm going to recommend a price of $275,000. Will you, George, list your home with me for that price tonight? All we need now is simply sign the contract so that I can help you get what you want in the time you want. Won't that be great? Yes, it will. Sign the contract. All right, good. So, right on cue. Hey, will you take a message for me? So, on this, two things. So, we talked about communication, and George yesterday talked about your success is on the communication. This script actually contains a lot of things that are designed in that way. So one of the things to keep in mind is I always love, as I watch Greg, when we get to and you talk about 300,000 versus 275, what is it that you do every time on 300,000? So what does that communicate?
Holy moly.
There's a big gap.
Yeah, and usually when I watch him do it, standing up here, he goes like this, like he makes it like bigger and bigger kind of a thing. So keeping in mind that part of that's what we're trying to say is $300,000 versus 300, excuse me. When we say 275, we're making it smaller, right? So instead of $275,000, we're saying 275 because it feels a little bit smaller. The other thing too on that, in terms of the communication, I love on the bottom of page 63, really, regardless of if you're following the Mike Ferry listing presentation or you're doing the Century 21 listing presentation, when you get to the point of talking about price, I love that question is you've gone through the CMA and then just saying to them, what price do you feel we should use to create value in the eyes of a buyer? So, because what typically happens with the seller? What are they saying to you when you're sitting there?
It's worth what we want.
We want.
Well, or as far as, yeah,
We
they
have to
definitely
have.
they want that, but
We
sorry,
have
I didn't ask that question very well, talk about communication. But ultimately, who do they want to pick the price, generally?
They do.
They want us to pick their price.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Meaning they want you to tell them the price that they want to hear. Versus if we ask it to them this way, if we've explained to them, here's what you're competing against. And Rick a lot of times will draw up here the actives, under contract, sold. Which column do you want to fall into? Well, we want to be in the solds. Well, then based on that, a great way to find out, so what price then do you feel we should use to create value in the eyes of the buyer and get them to decide to buy your house, versus the competition.
Horse salesman now.
So that you'll end up in this sold column. And then get them to answer the question, Jason.
Just real quick, ask a question for you guys. Why is it bad for us to pick the price for them? What's the problem that creates for us?
Good question.
And we're going to be
Rick can't answer, because I know him.
Monkey's on your back.
Because he knows I'll screw it up.
Lord has said it, say to you.
We're going to be blamed if it doesn't really sell for that price. We're the ones going to take the liability.
That's a great reason. The other one is for them to have buy-in in what they're trying to do. A lot of times when we say we're having a presentation, we're giving information, but that presentation is a bunch of questions. It's helping them discover what they need in this process. If they come out of the presentation saying, oh, well, he knows what he's doing there, and he's just going to do what he does, this is his thing, everything's going to be blamed on you. But if they come out of the presentation thinking, okay, this makes sense, this is what I need to do, this is the direction, you're going to have a lot better process. If that makes sense. Okay.
Do you know one thing I usually do with my listing presentations too, is one of the questions that I usually ask my seller is, do you have a price in mind? that really helps me based on my comms and everything where we at so far.
Good.
That really helps a lot.
That's great.
Well, and I was gonna say, sometimes when I'm dealing with my children, one of them tends to be a little bit bossier, and, go figure. And what I try to explain to her is, if you give your sister information, then she doesn't lose by having to do what you say. Does that make sense? So like, if you're like, do this, and she has to choose between doing something dangerous or doing what you said, she'll choose to do something dangerous because she loses in the other scenario. But if you say, if you do this, this could happen, then she can make a choice about which outcome she wants. And so when you give people information about a price, one, you don't get emotionally attached to the price, and two, you can say, I mean, I'm happy to set whatever price, just know that informationally, I will give you feedback on how many people come through, and that will guide us on what we have to do next, versus, I think you should take this price, and then being in a fight over my price versus your price.
Yeah, ultimately, we want to have them, it's a partnership. Together, we're going to choose the price. We're going to work on this together. But yeah, one of the challenges is if it's our price and it doesn't work, then yeah, they can be upset or whatever. But if it's their price, they've chosen the price, and we've explained the pricing strategy to them and they understand it, then we can work together to get these things done. So, cool. Okay, well, thanks for being here, guys. Have a great day.
I look at that and saying, we have to learn how to lead them.
That's right. You're exactly right. That's exactly right.
Are we here at 10?
10 o'clock. Yeah, we're doing SOI.
Okay, cool.
Can do that.
I know.
You're making me bad.
That's what jazz games